Welcome back. I'm Dustin. This is As Above Vlog number 3. Violence and force. We talked about that and how violence is immoral and force is moral. Violence is stealing property, the 7 properties we all own, all sentient beings have. And it's someone coming along and taking those properties without the consent of the other person. And when they do that, that's stealing, that causes suffering, and then there's a victim. And that perpetual cycle of people doing that all the planet creates this constant suffering and keeps devolving us. If we choose not to steal people's property, the 7 things, we evolve and we advance in our spirituality, and that foundationalizes our spiritual growth. The key is not to then participate. If we choose not to do that in our own behaviors, well, then our behaviors of participating in organizations that do the violence, if one does that, it perpetuates the system of violence. Governments, religions are huge advocates of violence. At the least, they're deceptive. At the least. At the most, with religions back in the day, did tremendous amounts of murder. There's still a lot of religions that will murder in the name of their ideology. Governments murder all the time. All kinds of horrible stuff by these ideologies. The problem is that's so hard to hear for people, because I talked about how people are going to loathe to hear this stuff. Well, it's so hard because we grow up. When we're little, we're programmable. We just get inundated with a worldview by our parents, our culture, family, friends. We get inundated with a framework over and over and over. And that framework can really lock us into then how we see the world as an adult. And it's very hard then to tease out, to have the discernment to tease out true philosophy and truth from an ideology. It's very hard to do that. And the reason why is because ideologies, when they're programmed into us, we get very emotional and we lose our thinking and we just react on emotionality. That's the big problem. So when someone says the truth, like I just did, that religions and government are violence because they push forward violent ideologies. When I say that, it's very, very, very hard for folks to take that in because it's such a heavy emotional reaction. They are unable to slow down and think philosophically about it. So the beginning of any spiritual journey is looking into the truth and refraining from moving into an emotional, immature reaction and thinking through something. That is the beginning of any awakening, is to start thinking through. You have to shed the mind control systems that you're under. Every spiritual growth, true spiritual growth, starts with the foundation of true philosophy. And a big part of that is what we talked about last video, morality. Is it moral or immoral? That's the hugest piece where is our springboard and our foundation always, is being moral into the world, is doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Or, as we know from Christ's example of the golden rule, you would do something, you don't want to do something if you don't want it done. You want to do something to somebody else if you don't want it done to you. It's these simple concepts that are the true philosophy of what it is. And the reason I say that is because what happens here, like I've talked about always, is it echoes into eternity, what we do here. The invisible world and the world here are not disconnected from each other. And religions really try to make that distinction, like it's an area where, yeah, you'll do good here, but you're going to get saved later. It sort of pulls away this responsibility. And if religions took the time to actually let go of their dogma and branch out and actually understand the huge concepts of how this universe works and all the material that's out there that really gives a fuller picture, they would do well. And then religions would just fade away because then we're all just in principle and true understanding of how things work. The good news is To make it really simple, to begin a spiritual journey is understanding morality, don't steal those 7 properties, and then not to participate. And then as we walk this earth that are folks that are moral, I don't steal any property from anybody. I stay moral, and I don't participate in any system that has an ideology of violence. I don't participate. This is our stance as we move forward, and then we can evolve and we can grow. This is what we need. If we don't, like I say before, it's just we're going to continue to suffer. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse of suffering. It may not be overt as we're in this time now. Some of the violence is really overt. In the West, it's not as overt. It'll eventually get there if we don't understand this foundation of morality and get rid of immature, childish concepts that bind the person back from truly being awakened in their power. And this is good. This is a good, loving thing. This is the true light and love on the planet, is to help others and to grow yourself and then to help others. That is the true goodness of why we're here. So that might be a big one to hear for folks. They might have shut it off already, but you're just not ready. I hope you do find your path, but I think that's it. And I will see you in the next one.